I also welcome you. Engineer Shyam Narayan Dave, Water Sanitation and Hygiene Specialist, United Nations Children's Fund. He is our chief guest today in this webinar. He will address on the topic Impact of Climate Change in the Water Security. Sir, I welcome you. Dr. Aniruddha De, Chairperson PRISM, who will speak on safe drinking water. Major General MGS Saili, VSM retired, Secretary and Director General II, who will offer vote of thanks. I also welcome Professor Dr. Anirban Gupta, Professor of IIEST, Shivpur. He has helped me lot to organize this webinar. I again welcome all the dignitaries and participants joined today's program and hope participants will be benefited through this webinar. I also request all of you to kindly participate in our future program also. Thanking you all. Now it is over to Sri Jhulan Chattopadhyay, Director, Rural Development Forum, with a request to coordinate the webinar. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank Mr. Doctor. Now I'd like to invite Engineer Sisir Pai, past President, Institute of Engineers, India, for deliberation of inaugural address.
Very good evening to all of you. Mr. Chairman, Rural Development Forum, Sri Ranjan Datta, Mr. Shyam Narayan Dave, our representative for the United Nations Children's Fund, Mr. Vishwarup Ghosh, Country Director, Water People for India, Mr. Vitarup Kahali, Technical Advisor, GKW Consult, GM, DH, and ex-professor of All India Institute of Public Health, and now Dr. Aniruddha De, Chairperson PRISM, Dr. Aruti Nandi, our eminent social scientist, and also consultant to Asian Development Bank, and our Secretary and Director General, Major General Siali, and also Director Sri Jhulan Chattopadhyay. It is a unique opportunity to be present with you on this occasion. Particularly, the subject has been chosen, a very important subject, as the water security for rural India. A human survival on Earth is often regarded as the outcome of many unique features available on our surface. Among these, water is a fundamental human need and critical national asset, which determines the contours of socio-economic development and quality of life. Adequate access to safe drinking water is often regarded as the benchmark for all developmental activities. But in recent years, increased pressures of population and economic activities, while converged on water requirement, the water sector increasingly faces the challenge of bridging the demand-supply gap. In India too, addressing and mitigation of water resources problem, particularly in rural areas, has taken the center stage for rural communities. The access to safe drinking water is a serious concern. It is presumed that the country will be water stressed by the year 2025 and water scarce by 2050. In recent years, the water security issue has also attained another serious dimension due to higher climatic and hydrological variability, with significant consequences for societies. Better management practices involving agriculture and household water treatment may accelerate availability and access to safe water in rural areas. The improved water management strategy in local, state, and national level is the prime solution to these challenges. Government of India has launched the Jal Shakti Abhiyan in water-stressed districts of the country. Under the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, officers, groundwater experts, and scientists from the Government of India, in tandem with state and district officials, promote water conservation and water resources management by focusing on accelerated implementation of water conservation and rainwater harvesting, renovation of traditional and other water bodies tanks, reuse and recharge of borers, watershed development, and intensive forestation. Moreover, sustainable water management is among the pillars of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, SDG, especially SDG 6, which concerns ensuring access to sufficient clean water and sanitation everywhere on the planet. To make this happen, measures are being taken to ensure ubiquitous fair access to drinking water, reducing discharges to minimize water pollution, protecting quality, and increasing the percentage of wastewater processing. Water security is a significant and escalating challenge. Effective water management strategies are being increasingly touted as the means to achieve the end goal of water security. A sustainable water management model is urgently required to encourage water saving, protecting the groundwater and special aquifers, and reduce water wastage. With these few words, I again congratulate the organizers for organizing this type of event and hope in future also we will be able to organize some more topics so that the people at large, they will be benefited from this program. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Engineer Shishir Banerjee, for his valuable lecture. Now, I would like to invite our keynote speaker, Mr. Bishwadip Ghosh, Country Director, Water for People, India. His topic is ensuring water security in the times of climate change. His time is 20 minutes. Sir, please.
Thank you, Shishir Ranjan sir and Ranjan Datta and my esteemed guests. So allow me to share my screen. I'll make a. Is it visible now?
Yes, it is visible.
Good evening, everyone, and it's really a privilege for me to be here in this August gathering. Many of you are so eminent and learned. I don't know what I can add in this August gathering, but it's a special moment for me because my father has been a member of this August institution for many years, and that is why I was looking forward to engaging with the members of this forum. So very quickly, I mean, the topic that has been given is water security in the times of climate change. And I will try to take you through what we have been doing ourselves. Of course, we are a very small NGO working at a micro level, but it also brings to bear my experience in the last 3 decades of working in this sector in various organizations. So just to set the context, we know that 1 in 3 people almost in the world don't have access to safe water. That is roughly 2 billion people globally. Sanitation is marginally better. So 1 in 2 people still don't have access to safe sanitation services. So we developed a vision where we are saying that we want to see a world where every person has access to reliable and safe water and sanitation services. Accordingly, we wish to achieve this by promoting the development of high quality drinking water and sanitation services that are accessible to all and sustained by strong local communities, businesses, and governments. And we have an impact model called Everyone Forever, which is pretty implicit by the term itself. By everyone, we feel that they should have access to safe water at the community level, and communities are trained and equipped to ensure that water flows forever. It's not a one-time thing. And how we break it down by everyone, we literally mean we don't want to leave anyone behind at the family level, at clinics, at schools, at any unit of change that we work in a district or a block level. And of course, forever means sustainability. Like, this is the more tricky part because we don't believe it's a quick fixes that we do something and exit in 1 year or 2 years. We work with the communities until they are assured that sustainable services are accessible to all of them, especially the most vulnerable. So the choice of areas are very remote. The demography are very vulnerable people who do not have access to these services currently. Globally, we are currently there in 9 countries, 3 or 4 in Latin America, in Africa, and in Asia. We are currently only in India right now. And within India, we have some intensive programming in the 3 states of West Bengal, Bihar, and Maharashtra, although we have been working in other states as well. And directly, we have been reaching about 1.5 million people. However, much of what we are trying to do, we started the work in India in 96. And 2014 onwards, Swachh Bharat mission came, 2019 Jal Jeevan mission came, which has pretty much the same objective of what we were doing through our Everyone Forever model. Therefore, we thought instead of doing our own small things, whatever learning we have generated over the last 15 years, we will work closely with the government to extend technical assistance so that the work can be scaled and more of these services can be taken to communities who are still not having access to these. And accordingly, we have MOUs with West Bengal government, in Bihar, and also in Maharashtra. And now that we are intending to work in partnership with the government, we want to act with a sense of urgency, and at least collectively, we want to enable access to services for 100 million people by 2030. And some of the tenets that drives our work is collective action. I mean, there is no room for doing things alone at an individual level or a organization level. So we collaborate with government, civil society organizations, academia, wherever it is possible. And we are focusing on system strengthening because this is what will ensure sustainability. And our focus is also on generating evidence because we try to lay the decision-making based on data, not on claims, but on facts. And a quick look through pictures. So we have been creating this pipe water system. This is in Digambarpur in South 24 Parganas. This has been awarded by the national government as one of the best panchayats for pipe water system. We've been providing this hand pumps where pipe water systems are not reachable, let's say in islands and remote places, especially at the community level. This is a picture from Chikaldhara in Maharashtra. We're working with schools in tribal areas. They see it's a mountainous area, and we enable this access to drinking water facilities in schools and ashram salas. This is in West Bengal again. This is again access. We create these water points where children in villages can have access to water. And more increasingly, this wastewater and fecal sludge management, because this is also directly linked to water, both in terms of availability of water and the wastewater contaminating the groundwater sources or freshwater sources. These need to be managed carefully, which is what the focus of the Jal Jeevan Mission 2 is. And for water security, just access and availability is not enough. There should be, like you mentioned, Mr. Banerjee, that water table is plunging in many parts. So in Birbhum, where we work, it is one such area that we are seeing that in the last 2 months of the year, in the lean period of summer, there is no access to drinking water. So unless we move away from the source and look at the resource overall and try to manage the resource to ensure that the water that is getting depleted underground gets replenished, sustainability cannot be assured. And this is a picture of working with children in schools. So whether we work in communities or in schools, everything revolves around building a strong institution. Unless the institution is strong, none of this sustains. None of what we do or government does without a strong institution at the core it doesn't succeed. And therefore, wherever we work, we try to build these institutions, empower them, skill them, so that when we are not there, they are able to take forward the work. So this, I think, is so this is what we have been doing so far. But what we see that even as we are working on these aspects, climate change is tending to undo everything that we have been doing or others have been doing. And this writing has been there in the wall for quite some time now. And we are feeling the impact of it in real terms right now. So this has been said, but in reports, in SDG report is there, IPCC report is there, roughly 2 billion people don't have access to safe drinking water. There is half the population in the entire world will experience severe water scarcity, at least for part of the year. Many parts of India, we are still seeing this happen. And these numbers are also expected to increase, exacerbated by climate change and population growth. It is also, we know that only 0.5% of water on Earth is usable for fresh water. And climate change is also dangerously affecting that supply. And over the past 20 years or so, the terrestrial water storage, including soil moisture, snow or ice, has dropped at the rate of 1 centimeter per year, with major ramification for water security. This by the World Meteorological Organization. We are also seeing right in front of our eyes the global warming induced sea level rise, which is projected to extend the salinization of groundwater. And we see this in our work area in the coastal areas of Sundarbans or in Kerala, for example. There's a decreasing freshwater availability for humans and ecosystem. As it is, the amount was less. And with salinization, the available water for drinking is likely to be reduced further. Water quality, another facet of water security, apart from access and availability, is also going to be affected by climate change. So we'll see more frequent floods and droughts are projected to exacerbate many forms of water pollution, and which is directly linked to health outcomes. And we'll see more and more waterborne diseases. There'll be sedimentation and pesticides. This is also IPCC calls it out very clearly. And all in all, climate change, population growth, increasing water scarcity will put pressure on food supply as well. So essentially, these things are interlinked. As more of fresh water is used, I mean, groundwater is a common pool resource. It feeds our drinking water needs, but also agriculture. Agriculture uses 70% of all of groundwater that is available. So unless we address agriculture, we may not be able to address our drinking water needs as well. And much of it will be known to the audience, which is here. None of it is new. And this has been forecast sometimes back. And I just looked at the newspaper of the last 2 weeks, right? So, and we can see this is in the Kerala, the floods, this was last year. And it is very apparent that any natural calamity like this affects the most vulnerable more disproportionately than the well-endowed, especially women, children, and people who are living in slums or in rural areas. This is a picture from Mandi, is 2 weeks back, and it caused havoc. Just 4 days of rain caused landslides, flash floods due to the deforestation and the effects of climate change that is linked to it. Uttarakhand, it is no different. And this is just in July, and this is in our Delhi, the Yamuna water. For the first time in 45 years, it has risen to these levels. And the implication of this is evident by the pictures themselves, right? And it is not just in India. In the same time, again in July, we see last year in Europe alone, 61,000 people have been found dead. And this has been linked with the heat waves that has followed there. And this is from day before yesterday's news headline, although the picture is old. In California, unprecedented temperature of 53 degrees Celsius, which has never been experienced before. Even as we talk, there is a fire going on in Spain's La Palma region in the Swiss Alps. Again, going through the article, it is very clear that the intensity of this has increased, although there has been sporadic incidents of wildfires every year. And in South Korea, in Asia, the president, 40 people died. It's a small country. And president unequivocally said that this climate change is a reality now and we have to learn to live with it. So that I thought was a very good acknowledgement of the crisis. So unless we acknowledge that the crisis is there, there is very little that we are likely to do in terms of the seriousness that it deserves. And scientists have said that climate change is making heat waves longer, more intense, and more frequent. So what does it mean? So apart from water, it has got implications elsewhere also. Like we've said that much of our agriculture in the country is rain-fed, depends on the monsoons. So this high intensity rainfall, more frequent, long dry spells, it has serious implications for our agriculture as well. Not just for drinking, because the farmers are completely dependent on rainfall, both in terms of quality and when it falls, to plan the agriculture. And this article, basically it says that even if 2023 we think is the hottest, it is likely to be followed by many such hot weathers in the years to come. And this is going to be part of the new normal, as they say. This one is an interesting article where the Rabi production last year of wheat was record low, all-time low in the last so many years that the data is available from Punjab and Haryana. That is because of the intense heat in the harvest season, just pre-harvest, when it requires a little bit of moisture in the soil for the full bloom. There was no water, and farmers had to extract much more water from groundwater, which, apart from the low yield, it also depletes the groundwater further. And this is a term that maybe not many people are conversant with. We have been hearing about flash floods. This one talks of flash droughts, which essentially means that suddenly the drought will come, and depending on the stage of the crop, it wreaks havoc in the harvest, and it is likely to become more frequent going into the future. So this is something we have been seeing, right? This is not even a longitudinal study or from a detailed scientific research. What is good about it is it's there in the mainstream media, which is not there. It doesn't get covered for many other social issues that we work on. But across global mainstream media, this is reaching every section of the population. So we are aware of it, which is a good position to be in terms of at least knowing what the problem is, and from there trying to see what can be done. So in our own micro, because we are as an NGO, we work, let's say, at the below at the district and block level. But we are seeing that these things are interlinked, and working only on drinking water alone may not help us to find lasting impacts, and the solutions, whatever we develop, will be suboptimal. So in discussion with scientists globally as well as in India, the first part, we've broken it into three parts, and we translate this into a operating model where at least we can demonstrate, generate data to see if it is working or not. But possibly this approach may have a more generic appeal that needs to be tried out in other parts of India as well. So the infrastructure, we have been focusing, even in our work, the focus was on creating infrastructure, but engineering solutions are not likely to provide the sustainability that we are looking for. So we need to identify climate resilient technologies, which we saw. I mean, you are referring to Amphan. It affected the area that we are working in, South 24 Parganas, very badly. And much of the infrastructure that we had created got destroyed by the serial cyclones that come every alternate year. So we tried to change the model of the hand pumps, tried to do an elevated platform model, but much more needs to be done so that the money, whether the government is investing or we are investing, doesn't go waste because of climate related exigencies. There is a talk on need for much more nature-based solution, moving a little away from the engineering-based only solution to look at what we can learn from nature and try to integrate it into our design. Mangroves, for example, have multiple roles they play for socio-economic as well as in environmental solutions, or green roofing or green walling as in urban areas, sponge cities concepts. These are all coming up, and we really need to focus on these solutions for the vulnerable part of the society that we work with, because possibly with every climate exigency, the rich will get away because we will have more resources at our end, even though in Europe, if we consider that as a developed nation, 61,000 people dying in 1 year is not a small number. So we need to come up with an infrastructure that will provide the resilience against climate change and focus squarely on the most vulnerable sections of the society and develop solutions that are protective of them first. Second, because we work in panchayats, in blocks at the district level, whatever policy comes up with in terms of solution, we see there is a lag in translating that policy into action where it is needed at ground zero, so to say. So there we need to build the capacities of the service providers. We need to strengthen the local governance, because in India, the diversity is so high, the context varies so widely across the regions, that from North India to Peninsular India to Western and Eastern part, that unless the local governance mechanism is strong, the institutions are strong, it will forever be playing a catch-up game to stay abreast with the changes that are likely to be much more frequent, likely to be much more intense, and it cannot be solved through a centralized approach. And this data-driven approach, because while doing the research for this talk, I saw that the forecast, the data-based thing, even they are projecting what will the Kharif harvest is likely to be, and it is not very bright. The forecast is not very bright. If we know that beforehand, what is it that we need to do to equip ourselves to deal with it in a timely manner? So the response, I mean, we can't be reactive. We need to be very proactive with our solutions. We need to be responsive as per the need of the area. And that can only be done if we invest in systematically building up the capacities of the first mile institutions. I mean, first mile or last mile, basically where the impact is the highest. And moving away from this unit of change, we need to take an ecosystem view, because much of the news item that I shared earlier, we saw that climate change impacts health directly. Climate change impacts livelihood, like aquaculture, agriculture, and drinking water, of course. Any change in the land use, land cover creates a problem for water downstream. Deforestation has a direct impact for landslides, for high runoff, and that again has an implication on water security. So essentially, we need to move away from this siloed approach to a much more multidisciplinary approach, and we need to develop policies that are multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary in nature, and convert those into operating models on the ground so that the response can be made in a holistic manner. So I think this is just leaving this as a food for thought, because I don't think, to be very frank, we have all the answers, but we have to keep trying. We have to collaborate more, and we have to generate the data in the various contexts that we work in terms of what works where. And if we see something working somewhere else, the question would be, how do we take the learning from there and replicate it to larger units of scale? Thank you again. I hope I have stuck to my time limit. And if there are questions or any suggestions or comments, I would be happy to take them. But thank you once again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh, for your valuable deliberation. And we hope the success of your NGO and security of water in rural area be achieved. Now, I'd like to invite our special guest, Professor Diptarup Kahali, Technical Advisor, GKW Consult, GmbH, and ex-professor, All India Institute of Hygiene and Public Health. His topic is engineering challenges towards water security. His time is 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Banerjee. I just want to share my slides first. One minute. Share. Share. I'm not getting my.
Apni sir video down. You please open the video. Perhaps your video is yes.
But my share. That time I do that, but now I've got nothing yet from this.
You are not able to share the screen. Yes, now it is available, I think.
Is it available?
Yes, now we click engineering challenges. It's on the screen, but it's not open till now.
Is it here now? Be seen.
No, this is not open.
Sorry for that. This is something like. Share is not coming. Chair is not coming.
Very good.
You please. That time it was coming, but why it is being off now?
I think you can send this presentation through mail to the IT person who can display it on your behalf.
I've sent it.
I think they can display it on your behalf.
I have sent it, but why it is not being done? Right.
Somehow it's missing, I think. So if you can start your lecture.
So first, I want to say that because I am basically engineer, so my I am little bit of bias towards the engineers. But first of all, the definition of rural water security is to supply safe, clean, reliable water sources for their domestic agriculture and livestock needs. However, as my total working life is basically on the community water supply, not very much related to the irrigations and other water supply. So I will be little bit of this presentations will be little bit of towards the drinking water and municipal water supply side, panchayat water supply for the domestic users and domestic schools and other things. Basically drinking water supply. So basically the key elements of rural water security in India include that you have to have available water, accessibility should be there, quality of the water should be fine, reliability of the water must be that, and sustainability as well as equity and infrastructure and community participation. Just before Dr. Vishwadeep is tell that again the community participation, NGO is the link for this community participations, and that is one of the issues. Now, if I consider that India has a broadly 4 landforms. One is plains, one is hilly areas, one is coastal areas, and another arid. And challenges faced by the engineers are common in nature, some challenges, but in some cases, it's very much area specific. So, and moreover, if the rural water supply considered, that is much more some added problems in India, which are the biggest challenge for most of the engineers. Now, in these cases, now if we go for the rural plain areas, what are the basic challenges engineers face? One is depletion of groundwater. Second, that water is contamination water of seasonal variation in surface water availability. Lack of infrastructure in the rural. I am telling about the rural areas. Population growth and urbanizations. Most of the rural areas is dream that there should be an urban, because Indian context is like that. We try to be more urban, and that's why population growth, if the fringe area just besides the urban area, you will find a lot of rural areas where the population growth will be alarmingly increasing. And obviously climate change impact, which already discussed in the previous speaker. This is the plain areas. And second is that if it is hilly areas, there is one thing is that limited water sources. Now, hilly areas mostly dependent on the water sources which are coming from the gravity water sources like that. Most of the hilly areas. I have an extensive experience in the hilly areas. Now, there are some problems we found that one is that when I worked in Gujarat in the 80s, 90s, now still we are working in the rural areas, we found that the basically age-old practice of the community is that to stay top of the hill. So that is the age-old practice, cultural practice. So when the water is supplied, if the gravity water supply they cannot get, they have to fetch the water from the down slope and downhills and bring it up to top. So these are the biggest problem, because social culturally they are habituated with that. It is very difficult to change their practice very quickly. And here the sociologists and other roles are very important, but it is a challenge for the engineers. Then is that inadequate infrastructure in hill areas. Most of these places are very much remote, and the building of infrastructure, suppose tanks, other things, even in Assam, we found it very difficult to have this infrastructure development because we have to head loads is quite high and very difficult to fix pipelines, other things. So that is one of the biggest difficulty engineers faced. And seasonal variability of the water. The ability of water can vary significantly in seasons. Then water quality issues again, and population distributions also. See hill areas, some pockets are very much populated, some pockets are not populated. So long pipelines you have to provide to give the water, and limited financial resources. And then we come to coastal areas. There is one biggest problem now started: saline intrusion. As at present, I am working in Pondicherry for some water, and unfortunately, you can say that presently Pondicherry rural water supply is 100% covered as per the Jal Jeevan Mission. But we are working in the urban area of Pondicherry, where we found that groundwater is totally dependent on groundwater. Pondicherry total urban rural based on the groundwater, and no surface water sources are available properly. Surface water sources are available for the irrigation. There are a number of more than 84 tanks are there. Bigger tanks means lakes, almost lakes. Out of that, 5-6 our lakes are very big, but unfortunately those are meant for agriculture, but the most of the agriculture practice are taken from the groundwater, and the 78% of the groundwater has been used for the agriculture purposes, and and moreover, because of the subsidy in the electricity and other things, the agriculture randomly use these things. Now we face some problems here. One aquifers we have identified near Tamil Nadu border, where we found that Tamil Nadu farmers are objecting that don't take this water from there for the urban water supply for Pondicherry. So these are the issues which we found in the rural coastal areas. So we have promoted that go for infiltration galleries and other surface water based sources. Also, we feel that rainwater harvesting, reuse of wastewater. Limited freshwater sources, obviously in the coastal areas. Climate change impact is very high because there are high chances of weather patterns in India is that most of the sea levels, most of the sea are being prone to the cyclone and other things, as well as sea levels rising is the biggest problem. Water contamination, frequent natural disasters, and population density in the coastal area is very high. Then come the arid areas. In the arid areas, the main problem is scarcity of water sources, and depletion of groundwater is obvious. Water quality issues again come. And another important point is high evaporation rates in the arid areas. Therefore, even the surface water which have been stored is quickly evaporated. And geological challenges is very high, and limited financial resources. So now, if we can say that these are the issues, basically the common problems of Indian context is that we have a common problem there in the water supply is that we have water source identifications, one of the biggest problem of all the common issues for the Indian context, because water source identifications, mostly 80% of the water we are taken from the groundwater, and that is one of the reasons we are having by depletion of groundwater, which have been just mentioned by my previous speaker. Then second is that water quality contamination. Water quality and contamination is the biggest another problems. Now here I want to highlight that though we are very much concerned about microbial and some chemical pollutions, about arsenic, fluoride, iron, and nitrate in some places, but we are not very concerned about more other pollutions. The pesticides, fertilizers, these pollutions, micropollutants, are totally ignored most of the cases because we cannot supply water with the treatment, and all the even the urban water supply the treatment systems which have been practiced, which are not capable to eliminate those type of pollutants. So this is one of the biggest engineering challenge. Today, nobody is talking, everybody is on the climate change, other things, but this water quality contamination. And I have a close, when I am is a lecturers and faculty of all institute risk assessment, we found that the increase of this cancer more, maybe some of these pesticides and other things which have been in the water is one of the water and food is one of the reasons. But unfortunately, this is not being taken very much. Some research project and some very sophisticated treatment plant use these things. But this is very much important for engineers to develop this. Then infrastructure development. Infrastructure development in the mostly we are facing in the basically in the town specific, city specific, not in the rural specific. Though there are number of projects have been launched for the rural water supply, particularly now Jal Jeevan Mission Rural, and in the Jal Jeevan Mission we have target that we should cover this total Indian rural is 193.6 million rural household, and when Jal Jeevan Mission started, that time only 32.4 million rural households has tap connections, and now by 2024 it is being targeted that all the households will be covered under tap connections, household water supply, and this will be 55 liter per capita per day. Now, question is that within 2 years, now already in the 3rd January 2023's data is given, 56.14% already covered. 56.14% of the rural household already have household connections, and so 76.3 million, almost 43.86%. See, by the 2 years we have to cover all this rural water supply. Now, this is a huge task, but it is being done very well. But one thing is very important here. When Rajiv Gandhi National Drinking Water Mission is first launched in 1988, and then after that, a lot of this program has been developed in rural areas, where we found that many of the villages are covered with the water supply that time, say not household connections, but there are some new wells and other things. But after 3-4 years, this will slip to again uncovered village because of the water sources. So this is the ambitious program, of course, but we have to have critical analysis for that, because this is mandated that this water supply projects will be the capital infrastructures, capital payments will be through the Public Engineers Department or Jal Nigam. After that, it will be handed over to the community, but PRIs, Panchayat Raj institution. But whether these Panchayat Raj institutions are capable of handling those things, because of operation maintenance, other things, this is one of the biggest issue of engineering challenges, because we as an engineer, firstly, we are basically hydraulics are given much more importance considering the water quality, most of the cases. Second is that when the operational maintenance part is coming, because the engineers in the rural areas are hardly present there, that is one of the challenges for engineers to address these issues. And secondly, the engineers are sometimes we feel that low-cost technology means low technology. That is one of the biggest psychological problems of us, that we feel low-cost technology means low-cost sanitation. Whenever that quick latrines, other things are considered, we feel that is a low technology. Low-cost technology doesn't mean low technology. Low-cost technology, very high technology maybe. And that is why we feel that operation maintenance should be much more innovative and more resources to be employed there, because ultimately capital assets have been built, but almost all the cases we found the operation maintenance challenges are very high. And community engagement and capacity building is very important for the engineers to allow these things. And another important thing is that these government policies, sometimes, suppose in West Bengal, we cannot take any tax for the water or any tariff for the water. Even if you are even it is affordable for you to give, cannot do. Many of the country, most of the countries, rural areas are not providing any money for this water supply. Maybe some committees have been formed and somebody is giving, but this is a practice which needs to be, because the financial constraints. I personally feel that some community cannot contribute, maybe may not contribute, but some community, there are rich farmers, there are many other persons who can contribute. So it is one of the important part. Financial constraints are one of the issues that we are not facing particularly for the operation maintenance, because a Jal Jeevan mission is being doing with the, it is a targeted program, and targeted program always sometimes not being very much sustainability are not been looking after. Targeted program always do the work and complete the work. Complete the work is not the for water supply. It can be for bridge, it can be for roads also, but it cannot be for water supply. We have to go for much more specifically in the supply. And then come the, what are the policy development we face? First of all, another important aspect is what we want to say, water resource management. In this water resource management, Dr. Vishwadeep told me that told us that it should be a integrated approach. Obviously, it's integrated approach, but we have to have close look in this matter, that whether agricultural needs, and we have to plan the cropping pattern also in that way, that agriculture, if they take the same groundwater from the water, so ultimately the people cannot meet the thirst. So that is to be properly addressed. Unfortunately, most of the cases, technical bonding between departmental, even the engineers department, we are not having. That is one of the challenges for engineers, particularly the water engineers, that we are having water supply, irrigations and drinking water supply cannot be separately looked out. It should be a combined effect should be given. And also, I personally strongly believe the reduction of subsidy for the power supply, particular pumping water for the rural agriculture purpose, should be done, because that is one of the issues that they are wherever there is no other alternative sources, that must be going on. But where the alternative sources are built, suppose in Pondicherry recently we have found, but still people are not using, because pumping water will be quickly and they can do these things. Another important thing is rainwater harvesting. There are a lot of talks, lot of seminars in the rainwater harvesting. But rainwater harvesting is basically, whenever rainwater harvesting is discussed, we always feel that it should be rainwater roof catchment or this type of urban purpose. Rainwater roof catchment would not be a big proposal for the rural areas. Only in the schools, hospitals, or primary health center, there are some roof catchment can be arranged. But basically, we have to conserve some pond or lakes which would be fed by the rainwater. For that, we have to have all the engineering brains to be involved, much more considered just now, because people know, engineers know that how to do that. Only the interest for the rural areas we are lagging in some cases. That is my personal view, and I also want to share with you. And then come the actions. I personally feel that it should be policy development, policy maker. Always, sometimes policy making, political persons always give some policy. Sometimes that policy should engage engineers and community stakeholders in the development of policy related to rural water security. Because whenever I say that this should be done in the here, it should be even Jal Jeevan mission is also, I personally feel that is basically a policy which have not been considered for the targeted, because 5-10 years targets. These targets cannot be, capital assets can be built, but operational maintenance is a biggest target. Sustainability issues have never been addressed by this way. And capacity building in the governance. Capacity building not only say for the engineers should make arrangements for capacity building of the next group. There may be some technicians, some other things. And here our roles are very important, because we have to be very humble in this regard, that we are engineers, but we can always make some capacity development for the others. So, and I want to, because unfortunately I cannot show my slides. And so conclusion, I personally feel that we, the engineers, have to recognize and believe that alternatives exist. And I am very optimist, and I never think that climate and other things will destroy, because it is a phenomena world earth has regularly. Ice age has come previously also past, again it will come. So naturally this will happen, and so much of population increase, that has definitely a burden. But as an optimistic eye, we can think that we definitely can get out from these things. Suppose in the fossil fuel, we have some alternatives already, we have started. Similarly, here also we personally feel we can do something, and alternatives exist, of course. Thank you.
Thanks, Professor Kahali, for his deliberation in a lively manner. And he has rightly pointed out the duty of engineers for this rural water security. And one thing it should be admitted that subsidy in electric should be reduced or should be ignored for pumping in rural area for irrigation purpose. Thank you. Now I like to invite our special guest, Dr. Arati Nandi, eminent social scientist and consultant to the Asian Development Bank. Topic is water and gender. Time is
Sir,
15
actually,
minutes.
sir, this I will ask the previous speaker to stop sharing the screen. Otherwise, no one can share the screen. Please, Dr. Kahali, please stop sharing your
I've
screen.
shared,
Please stop
already,
sharing.
I've already shared. Stop
But it is not stopped. It is on the screen. Please.
the screen.
Yeah, I can see you on the screen. Please stop the video.
Sorry.
Okay, now.
Hello,
Yes.
this is Aruti Nandi. Have you got my slides? PPT? Yeah.
Yes. It's in.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So, good evening, everybody. I'm really very thankful for this opportunity to speak about the gender issue in front of eminent engineers and technocrats. And I just really thankful to the previous speaker that he has also raised this point of community participation and mainstreaming of people. So I would like to take not much time just to thrust upon the issue of the gender issues, I mean women issue in connection with the water supply and sanitation. And without going into very detail, I would like to present some findings about one ADB intervention project. And the study, baseline study was done on impact evaluation of that project and with the focus on the gender issue. So that, can you please show the slide? Okay, the project is a Asian Development funded project, started in around 2018 or so, and it is still continuing, and construction part is still way far away from the being completed. The project is West Bengal Drinking Water Sector Improvement Project. The major inputs are it is the sector loan by ADB to finance the water services improvement and technical assistance for awareness campaign. There are two components. One, hardware, that is the actual creation of water treatment plant and the laying of the pipelines in the study area, in the project area. And another part is the awareness campaign, making people aware, and particularly the Gram Panchayats, selected Gram Panchayat in that project area, to make them capable to handle this asset, which will be after the completion of the project, which will be the people's asset. They can manage that. That is the major issue. And the output, the building of the water and sanitation, as well as the sanitation hygiene and awareness program. And the major thrust is, it is a very new of this kind in West Bengal, connection to each and every household to selected blocks in 3 districts. I'm coming to the project, the area. All households of the selected blocks, as in North 24 Parganas, Harua block, in South 24 Parganas, Bhangar 1 block. These 2 blocks are side by side. Just the just conjuncted to each other. Then East Medinipur, Nandigram 1 and 2, and in Bakura, Mejia Gangajal Ghati in Purantal Gangra. Outcomes will be, there are 3 levels of outcomes. Majority, the immediate outcome is the access of piped water to all these people. About, I forgot exactly the number, about some millions of people in this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blocks. Intermediate outcome is the time savings from the water fetching and decline in arsenic, fluoride, and salinity concentration. In this context, I would like to just mention about one point, because this is not my prerogative and not my area of specialization, that in everybody knows in North 24 Parganas and the surrounding adjoining South 24 Parganas area, some areas are arsenic infected areas. Fluoride is also, fluoride contamination is found in Bakura, and salinity problem has been pointed out in East Medinipur district. So next is what is the expectation from this project is to improve the school attendance. After this project is completed, the pipeline water, treated water, drinking water is supplied to each and every household in these selected blocks. So what will be the expectation of the people? We can expect that their school attendance will increase, waterborne diseases will be prevented, naturally it will lead to reduction in medical expenses, reduction in work days lost, because due to the morbidity, many people, many men and women as well, they lose their work days. And anticipated results out of these facilities achieved will be the increase in income, consumption, education attainment, morbidity-free day work days, and life expectancy. So there was one, since the project is going to have some more years to complete, the NDB wanted to have one impact evaluation study, and that right now in 2018 and 19, during these 2 periods, there was one baseline survey done, because we wanted to see what is the current scenario, present scenario. So after the completion of the project, they can compare with the expected outcome or result of this project. So this impact evaluation baseline survey was conducted in 2019, and there was previous to commencement of this survey, there was one recce visit. I was part of that team. I happened to be part of the whole team who made this study and also written the report. So initial assessment was done there in 2018. All the ADB consultant, ADB staff officers, they also visited some of these quite interior areas. So for the purpose of this study, we have selected 57 gram panchayats, and in all 2,000 plus households were surveyed. Household survey was done, sample households. And it contained 2 areas. One is the project area and one is the non-project area. So to see the comparison between these 2. So 28 panchayats with a total household of 1,008 in project areas and 29 panchayats in non-project area. So I won't go into the details of how the survey was done, etc. So there are so many statistics involved, but we come to what is the survey result, what we immediately derived from that. So, but there are so many indicators. I am just, for the purpose of this presentation, I am selected a few which has very close link with the gender issue, with the issues faced by the women. So one is water supply source. What is the drinking water source? So we found that 42% is the major, most of the people, that means 42% of the households, they collect their water from the drinking water from tube well or bore well, public hand pump, 34% households, private hand pumps, 13%, and there is also bottled water. So about 4% of the households also use the bottled water. The same scenario is also observed for the cooking water. I mean, same source supply drinking water as well as cooking water. For hand washing, tube well or bore well, they are the major sources, 32%. For livestock, I mean, cattle and other. So the surface water is mostly used, 63% of the households, and other domestic use like use of toilet and gardening. So they use mostly the surface water, and some also use who have their own private tube well, they also use that. So next come to the travel time and waiting time. Average travel time. This average looks to be quite small. I mean, not a very long time to travel. But in some cases, I will come to that later on when I will speak about the people's views and interaction with them. We come to some quality data, the qualitative data. I will present that. So average travel time is about 6 minutes throughout the area. Waiting time is about 7 minutes, more than the travel time. And who collects this water? Who are the people? For a family, from each family, about 2 to 3% are involved in fetching water. Women leads it of all these and followed by men. And you see the difference between women, 33%, I mean 1/3 of the households, they have the women taking the major lead. But 29, nearly 30% again, not very lacking behind, men also carry. I will come later on, I will tell you some specific examples why also men do this. I will do. Children also share this responsibility. About 18% families, we have observed that children also share the major responsibility of collecting water. Next, we come to some survey results of this survey indicate the storage and purification. 5% of the households, we have seen that they purify water before drinking. These households, not necessarily that they are rich people, or well-off people, but they have more consciousness, more awareness of getting a safe drinking water. And about 95% of the respondents store their water. And most common method is storing water in container, 96%. But these two are very, very critical issues because storage and contamination within that storage tank or whatever containers are there, it is very high in some places, mainly due to lack of awareness or some other reasons. Now I will tell you some, there are so many other results coming out of this baseline study, but I'm not dwelling on that. I will give you the reference of this study. It is published by Asian Development Bank. You can have from that all the other details information. But since I want to be very specific on the gender lens only, so I will stop with the statistics so far. And now from the focus group discussion with the groups of women, from the panchayat level, from ASHA workers, we found some very important feedback, which do not always tally or always not come in parity with this whatever statistics we have gathered. So I would like to highlight on those issues. One, the major issue is the health issues. The major diseases everywhere we have found: dysentery, gastroenteritis, and sometimes outbreak of cholera also happen. Visit to hospital average 1 to 2 times a month for the children. And these visits, we have noticed that in North 24 Parganas districts and also some villages adjoining that area, which has very high arsenic contamination. So there, this visit is very frequent for adults as well as the children. Some households with symptoms of fluoride contamination were found in Bakura, but we tried to collect data from the district hospital also. We found some, but it is not very conclusive. So we just held up with that. Now, and in East Medinipur, people, even the CMH, when we discussed with him, he also mentioned of the rise in blood pressure due to the salinity. So, but how far it is very much correlated, they also have some doubts. So we are not going to give much stress on that, but that is a point to remember in future. Then access, how to access their water source. Average distance travel varies from 500 meter, very less, to 3 kilometers. In some area in Bakura, like in Taldrangga, where there are some tribal villages, they have to travel even 5 to 6 kilometers every day. Major issue is clean and safe water storage tanks not cleaned frequently, lack of proper storage at home, and safe habits. This is very important, and these are the major issues. And this has been pointed out by the ASHA workers, who have very daily, almost very frequent interaction with the women of the villages. Then quality water, arsenic contamination, everybody knows that, and general water supply situation of North 24 Parganas and the Bhangarwan block of South 24 Parganas is very predominant there. Some remote villages have neither access nor quality. And that is a very, we have visited one village very close to river Vidyadhari in Harwa block. So we found there either that that village is almost, you will feel like that you have come at the end of the world. There's a lots of both sides, lots of ponds, the aqua ponds, prawn cultures is going on, very narrow road, just compacted, and water supply, and people, when we went there with the ADB team, of course, and people were just gathered in the evening, all around us, about 30 to 40 people. And they were just narrating us their daily hazards and risks just to fetch water, safe water for their daily household needs, for drinking only. So that is totally that. The whole thing was also documented with videography and other things, and hopefully ADB will also come out with some documentation of that. Next, we come another set of feedback we got from the focus group discussion and key informant interviews. As told by the panchayat heads of some of the Grand Panchayats, that it is how we can explain that. We found, normally we all know in the women are the major caregivers, and they take the burden of collecting, fetching water, storing water, everything. But in some villages, we are really surprised to see the men do that. Why? Because those villages were predominantly inhabited by Muslim population, and there, since the source of safe water, that stand post or the tube well are quite far away from the village, and women are not typically not allowed to go beyond their village limit to fetch water. So the boys, adult boys, adolescent boys and men, sometimes men, they carry waters and buckets hanging on the cycle. This is the reason. It is not that to give the some relief to this drudgery, to relief from this drudgery to the women. It is not because of that. Because of the social taboo, women are not allowed to go out of their home. So, but when we hope that when this water supply scheme will be implemented fully, so they will don't have to, neither men nor women have to go beyond their village, beyond their houses. In Bakura, burden of fetching water for domestic use falls on the shoulder of women and girls, both, and 60% of the total water collected. However, in water scarce villages, men also participate in fetching water from far away water sources. When some water sources dry up in the summer month, this is also we found in Bakura, that all the able-bodied men and women, both of the family, they take part in collecting water, or they just rotate among themselves. One goes collect and one stand in the queue. Because we have noticed that standing in the queue takes more time than collecting or visiting that place. So these are in very brief some of these findings of this initial study, baseline study. But I want to tell you, so if I have some time, do I have, how much time do I have left?
Your time is already up.
Okay, okay, then I will just go through this, just have a look at this, and you will have this presentation with you. You can share it. These are some global scenario. You can have a look and some photographs only. But in the end, I forgot to mention some references. I will share it with you through mail. I will share it to the president and the chairperson. Then you can have it all, because there are very important reference books on these issues, water and women. Thank you very much. And thank you for a very patient hearing. And I'm really very happy to say something, at least from the gender lens, in the gathering of the so many eminent engineers and technocrats. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dr. Nondi, for your most valuable lecture. And the lecture was very informative and data-based. Once again, thanking you from our part. Now, I'd like to invite our chief guest, Mr. Samnarayan Dave, Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Specialist, United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. His topic is Impact of Climate Change in the Water Security. Time is 20 minutes. Please, Mr. Dave.
So first of all, good evening to all participants, delegates, distinguished speakers, and Mr. Ranjan Datta, the chairperson of the Institute of Engineers, India. I'm really privileged to be part of this important discussion today, which is enlightening the entire issues of rural drinking water supply in context to climate change, and particularly water security is one of the area which all of us are concerned. I would like to share some slides. Is it fine? Can I share some slides?
Yes, yes, of course.
So let me share the screen. Is the slide visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. So, as I mentioned, the entire focus is on how the climate change is impacting, or rather it is impacting all of us, we know, but water security in particular. So on that context, I will briefly touch upon certain points. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. So the entire context, climate change is a global phenomenon, and India is obviously because of the largest population globally. India shares. We are number one now, leaving China behind. So you can see how it is going to impact the overall 40% of the population will shortfall in terms of demand and supply of water by 2030. Despite efforts, global efforts and national efforts for providing safe drinking water. And the context is climate change, which is going to lead to chronic water scarcity, hydrological uncertainty, we all know, extreme weather events, flood, droughts, etc., which is going to be a biggest threat for sustainability. The projections which are there on global studies, including World Bank, informs that climate change will worsen these impacts on rural water safety and security both in most places. The climate-related water safety risks, which are already important, we need to see how critically it is there to address, both in terms of foreseeable future, how planners need to look into differently, factor all these things, and particularly the climate resilient water management is urgent than ever, because resilience building, unless part of the planning, the providing water supply, connecting each house is fine, but unless the source is sustainable or system with a good O&M is there, the sustainability is likely to be at risk. And therefore, the entire climate change mitigation adaptation strategies also, as indicated in Paris Agreement, we need to factor into our programming. And there are benefits and co-benefits when we look into climate and water both together in a coordinated manner for sustainability, rather than doing water supply standalone and the climate mitigation left it to disaster management partners. The overall projections which are indicated, our previous speakers have also mentioned, the precipitation pattern is changing, temperature is increasing, demand, supply and reduced quality of resources due to pollution, etc. This urbanization, everything is putting pressure on water supply. I see the India context, the overall, we have 18% of world population, but only 4% of water resources, making it among the most water stressed country in the world. So, and the more and more competitive demand is happening, we are seeing everywhere. And in the context, the Niti Aayog also have analyzed a lot of water stress related information, and it informs the per capita availability of water will dip from 1486 cubic meter to 1367 by 2031. That means obviously more population, less water availability going to create stress. So dependence on increasingly on erratic monsoon will also pose a challenge. And in that context, we have to see how it is impacting because of frequent disaster, flood and drought, both water security part and water quality part. Floods will lead to water quality issues and drought will lead to water quantity and security issues. So in that context, the entire water availability issue is going to impact not only just a water issue, but also health and food security. Our previous speaker has also mentioned on that. Recently, you might have seen in the media the overexploitation of natural resources linking to the pumping of water has also impacted the tilt of the earth axis because of, the amount of water the people have taken out from earth. It has mentioned that the axis of rotation is going to impact the climate. The Geophysical Research Journal of American Geophysical Union, the latest by June 15th, 2023, it has indicated that groundwater pumping has tilted the planet nearly 80 centimeters east between 1993 and now 2010 alone. So, which means the entire ecosystem and the earth, which is only one earth for everyone, the environment, and ensuring we replenish water, what we withdraw, and make a balanced utilization. It's not just drinking water sector, it's all industry, agriculture, and all stakeholders which are drawing water indiscriminately has to be aware of. And it says that people have pumped 2,150 gigatons of groundwater, or more than 6 millimeters of sea level increase. However, it is something which people are still validating. So, but this is one of the findings which is alarming. In terms of water as human right and equitable access is something which is enshrined in the global commitments in even SDG 6 also. There are paradigms of, because water is core of everything. And if we look at the framework which is showing that entire climate impact is impacting the social equity, equilibrium, the health of the overall environment degradation is happening, and the economy is also getting impacted because of climate. And we have to see how we manage the water, the consumption patterns, the availability and access to ensure that everybody has equitable access. And this will require a lot of policy actions, proactive climate adaptation, and resilience building part. And water has clear linkages have been depicted here on environmental, economic, and social dimensions. So it's not just a engineering agenda to drill a bore well and provide water, because overall climate is impacting the entire the programming of water sector. So the challenges are multiple, and the policy need to be there to promote integrated water resource management for efficient use of water. In the context of the Global Climate Risk Index 2018, India is one of the most affected country to be or being impacted by climate change, which is affecting all sectors. The Composite Water Management Index informed that around 600 million people in the country are suffering from acute shortage of water. Now, when we talk of equity, and nobody should be left behind, and Har Ghar Jal, we have to see that the people who are mostly going to be impacted in maybe mostly rural area, or most vulnerable population in urban slums or in coastal zones. We can see that the entire programming has to have factor all these things. As this scenario of water security, we see hydrogeologically also different scenarios are there, but mostly in rural area where 70% people live, the problems and challenges are quite significant. And that's why the National Action Plan for Climate Change, which has been developed, has put water security in India as a important area in context of climate change. I would dwell on few minutes on water security dimensions. If you see the picture, it clearly indicates the environmental water security, the economic water security, the climate water security, the urban water security, and domestic water security. All these dimensions contribute towards the overall water security picture, which help the planner to understand and factor those issues. First is environmental, which talks about the entire ecosystem, the rivers, lakes, reservoirs, aquifers, how to preserve and protect. Unless we do that, the water security obviously going to be impacted. The economic part of the water security is we have to have sufficient supply for all economic activities, farming, industry, all energy. Otherwise, we're not able to have the other benefits of our economy. The climate water security is the entire creation of resilience among community to adapt climate changes and sustain the water supply systems despite disasters. So we have seen already series of cyclone and hurricanes coming. Every time we see a lot of, though there is early warning, lot of life loss has been protected, but systems do get affected. So we have to be building resilience for providing uninterrupted water supply. Urban water security also, because of the overall population increase and migration, we have to ensure the overall society and community get a good water supply, as well as it is the water reuse, recycle is also concept is put in place. The domestic water security, of course, is prime in terms of both urban and rural. We have to see that the entire sanitary norms for water quality standards are met for good health. So overall, these are dimensions which water security need to be looked into. How it is going to impact the climate change, the water security part. If you see the metrics, it says the level of groundwater development 0 to 70%. If it is developed, it is called safe, and area that have good water potential. But over the period, if you see from 1995 to 2011 data, the earlier 92 districts were safe. Now it has reduced to 71. Similarly, the 70 to 90% semi-critical, where the groundwater development is recommended, there were 4 districts. Now it has increased to 10 districts, which means more districts require, they have become semi-critical. The critical is 90 to 100% groundwater development area which need intensive monitoring. It has become from 1 to 4%. These are not absolute number. These are percentage of district in the national context. And 100% overexploited district where groundwater development is really require a lot of effort. They were 3% in 95. It has now increased to 15%. So we can see how the climate change scenario has led to, and human activity, of course, development activity together, the groundwater exploitation led to drinking water security challenges. And we can see the overall 54% of India is high to extremely high water stress area. And we can see also in the picture how the different sectors are having competitive priorities, and the resources are under stress. The drought, as we know, it is as a result of the climate or less precipitation, but it is having impacts both in terms of the water security as well as water quality. And overall, we have to look at as per the IPCC report, the entire reduction in renewable surface water and groundwater resources is going to be significant, and it will intensify the competition among water sectors. So that means the scenario, we have to be prepared for all these challenges. There are some facts, I will not go into detail, but this is something will also impact a lot of even water, the climate-induced water stress, such as water scarcity, is likely to limit the creation of decent jobs also. With 3 out of 4 jobs in global workforce depending on water, this could disproportionately impact youth, estimated to be 3 times as likely as adult to be unemployed. So the climate-induced water stress is not just going to affect the health or food production, but also the jobs, which is going to create a lot of stress. There are some water crisis related visuals, which it says it is going to be very high in terms of significant economic cost. Depleting groundwater reserve is also impacting our drinking water access and availability. The entire 60% of India's districts have been declared critical to groundwater, as I mentioned in the picture. India draws nearly 25% of the world groundwater, which is huge. And nearly 80% of India's fresh water is used in agriculture. Most of them are used, and which is also critical, but important. But then we have to see how we manage and balance between these sectors. Overall, half of the India's cultivated land is under water intensive crops. That means every time we have seen how much groundwater we have pumped out already, and impacting the overall in the context of climate change, it is going to be manifold. The water, India water uses particularly food production as per intensive crop, it is going to impact twice of the water amount for growing the same crop, comparable countries. And this gives a lot of food for thought, how we need to manage things. This is nothing but the same concerns in terms of its climate change is primarily a water crisis. This is how it has summarized, because sustainable water management, unless it is done, and with the resilience building, the entire ecosystem will be impacted. The reasons for climate change is well known. As I mentioned, 40% water deficit communities will be there unless there is a behavior change. We have to see how we are using water. A lot of grey water generated, no kind of a systematic reuse, recycle concept. So all these water management issues are coming again and again. How we inculcate those up to community level and industry and all stakeholders. So this is how basically it says the sustainable water management requires responsible consumption. That means we should not waste water. The entire water program has communication agenda. How effectively it is done, how we really reach to stakeholder to make them aware that we have limited finite water quantity, it should not be wasted. There are some water solutions also sustainable, affordable, means improving carbon storage, protecting natural buffers for coastal mangrove wetland areas, harvesting rainwater, it has been already been indicated, adopting climate smart agriculture, which should provide organic matter, soil moisture retention, drip irrigation, reducing post-harvest losses, etc. Reusing wastewater, which is being promoted under Swachh Bharat mission also, in Jal Jeevan mission also. To what extent we are able to reuse water, because currently the entire priority is on reaching out and providing drinking water supply, but simultaneously it has to be also done, and harnessing groundwater. And basically it should not be overexploited, but also we have to protect and also recharge so that there is a balance in utilization. This is all what I wanted to convey. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Dave, for your pertinent lecture on this issue. Though we are running late, now I like to invite our another special guest, Dr. Aniruddha De, for some lecture on this topic. Chairperson of PRISM. Please, Mr. De.
Yeah. Hope I am audible.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. So, thank you. Actually, thanks to all my other panelists like Mr. Diptarup Kahali, Professor Diptarup Kahali, Mr. Shamnarayan Dave. I still remember those days when I interacted with them and learned lots of things. Dr. Arati Nandi is actually she was my predecessor because she was the chairperson of PRISM before. I took it up from her. Now, basically, I'm a student of anthropology. I uh, am. I would like to start with that narrative that I'm a student of anthropology and I have left my this job and other positions long back in 2000. I wanted to work with the community, and first this thing was like in 2000 I actually faced a lots of problem when we started doing something. Then the problem was like devastating flood in West Bengal, and in this part, this Gaighata, Bonga, Habra, this area, it was inundated for almost 45 days. Some of the villages, it is not the entire area. So it was inundated, and then some people with those who have worked on water surveillance program and all. So I still remember, and I believe Professor Kahali would be able to recollect. It was Madhusudan Kati Cooperative. It was a very big, very famous cooperative society of India, of West Bengal. So they were awarded for 7 times. So their president, Mr. Kalipada Sarkar, he came and he said exactly it was meaning was like there are lots of slow onset disasters, like it is the place known for arsenic contamination. So we need to do something, and he had actually requested us to work on it. That was the beginning. And then I went to All India Institute of Hygiene and Public Health, met some scientists over there, and Professor Kahali was one of them. I got lots of inputs from these people and got the confidence that yes, there are solutions, and those solutions can work, but it has to be very carefully done. So after getting something, then I started. I came back, and we in the team we just discussed, and the discussion was like in West Bengal, the government has spent lots of money. At that time, it was Paul Trockner, you may be remembering that Paul Trockner plants were there, and then when the government and all its PhD people, all the senior engineers and all, so when they have done all these things, why people are requesting a small organization for some intervention? So then it was like we went to Gajna, the place from where the first arsenic patient was diagnosed. Then we went and discussed with many places where people used to take water from these Paul Trockner places, hand pumps, plants, but people are not happy and the water quality deteriorates. Then the first thing, some people, they said that water is our fundamental right. Water is a basic human right. And that is very true. And water should not become a commodity. That was that a decision was taken by the team. So then we started working on the safe drinking water issues, and gradually we have achieved something like in India, almost 2.5 lakhs people, the families, they have been using our domestic water purifier, which is named as Amritodhara. We have been using version 8 now. Then in Vietnam, the same thing, it was tested by the government, the methodology and all they have seen. And after that, they allowed us to intervene in Mekong Delta area, then in Nepal after earthquake, and in Bangladesh. And very recently, it has not been approved, but very recently we got an offer from Yemen. This organization's name is Dorcas. So they have requested us that they wanted to collaborate with this project. So with all these things, I would like to just show this slide. Hope this will work. Yeah. So is it visible now?
Yes, visible.
Okay. So this is the first one, and this is like we just named it as Safe Water Mission, and there are innovations and appropriate technology promotion program of prison. And we did one was domestic water purifier following household water treatment and safe storage, which actually we did it long back in 2003, domestic part. Before that, we started working on community intervention strategies, and first was installed in Madhusudan Kati Cooperative. And then there was a refusal initially in 2001, January. There was a refusal in the sense when we said that water user committee should be formed and people should pay something, whatever you will charge. So it can be 10 rupee a month, so it can be. So, but from the Madhusudan Kati Cooperative, people said that it is very difficult to just tell them that they should buy water. We said it's not buying water. It is the water usage committee and its operation and maintenance cost will be will require, and for that they should be prepared, and there should be a fund. So, however, in April they said that no, we are ready now. People are ready to pay. So, okay, fine. Then we started doing that. Then after that, we started something like Professor Subhash Chatra. He was from Kolani University, and there were some other senior scientists, senior experts. So they came and visited the place and interviewed the people, those who are actually not feeling well of consuming that water. They said, no, after installation of this, we are now feeling very good. And one person said that I don't go to my in-laws place more than 3 days. I don't spend more than 3 days. So it is because I can take water from here, and that is maximum for 3 days. The farmers, those who are going to the their farmlands, so they were they became members and they were taking water for consumption. So all these things are there, and those things are documented. But again, maybe due to lack of knowledge, maybe it was our first intervention. So in the community treatment plant, we did something that was against the gravitation. Like what treatment tank was different and storage tank was different. And from the treatment tank, water was actually passed through activated carbon, but against the gravitation from the bottom. Then Professor Subhash Chatra, he said one thing that, Baba, you have done a good job, but in smaller units, it will not work. Then actually, we started working on domestic water purifier, and we also understood that it was not working. The flow of water was not that satisfactory, and then we decided to change, and that's why what you are seeing is that this is the Amritsar version 8. After 2015, there was the assessment of MDG goal 6, and it was only 32% all over the world. Then the recommendation of the WHO was household water treatment and safe storage. For the first time, safe storage concept was added. So they said, they coined the term as HWTS. So we, though it was after we initiated, but we accepted that, and we are using that terminology, that household water treatment and safe storage technique we are using. With the same technology, we are also working on subsurface water treatment and surface water treatment. Now, this is the model of surface water treatment. This is a place in Gobodanga, and in Gobodanga, Gazna is only 2 kilometers away from this place, Gobodanga municipal area, and Gazna is the place from where the first patient of arsenic was died. And Gobodanga, many people know that Gobodanga is water here is arsenic contaminated, but mainly people, they are investing in drinking water, not for agricultural products or animal products like milk. It is the cows, they are consuming arsenic contaminated water, and when we are milking, so in that milk arsenic will definitely be there. So these are something. Now here we have installed, here is a very big pond, and after working on this, we gradually improved. It was first it was 49% groundwater, 51% surface water in a year, and then we changed something, and now it is 100% surface water, rainwater harvested, this thing. So we are not using zero groundwater. We're not using any groundwater. So for 365 days in the 2 acres area, 2 acres of land, where it is for all the purposes like bathing, like drinking, like washing the clothes, like washing utensils, like cooking, consuming, irrigation also. So everything is possible in this 2 acres of land. Similarly, we worked in Madarihat. We have another campus in Madarihat, and there we first installed, there is no tube well, and Madarihat, it is very difficult. We need lots of money for a boring. So we have only 2 wells, and these 2 wells are the sources, and we use this type of the treatment plants. So this is, we call surface subsurface water treatment plant, and there also in this 3.5 acres of land we do irrigation, and almost every month we are having more than 100 children there in the campus, but for each and everything, so these 2 wells are enough. Now I am coming like this in Gobodanga, in this area. So people have been facing some problems like iron also, because it is not only consumption of drinking water, it is water for other purposes too. So for that we have installed one small arsenic iron removal plant. So this is how we did it, and we have it's an organization, it's an NGO, and we have been talking about and we have been doing something on solid waste management too. And we are not only concentrating on safe drinking water. There are lots of other issues. So we constructed one huge tank. It was the capacity of this tank was 1640 liters, and later on it was elevated. It is 2,800 liters of water can be stored now. And this is made with the bottles we actually like Pepsi, Thumbs Up, Sprite bottles. After consumption of the Thumbs Up or Pepsi or Sprite, whatever it is, so we just throw it out. So those bottles we collected, and those bottles were used as eco bricks. And with that help of those eco bricks, we made this tank. Now it is coming to this thing that some figures of concern, many people know, and you have already discussed all these things. So I am not going in details. So this is actually access to adequate water and sanitation services influences everybody's health, education, life expectancy, well-being, and social development. Safe drinking water is a fundamental right to every human being. Huge investments in water and sanitation infrastructure is not enough to ensure access to safe drinking water for all. Actually, we started working because we knew that though it's a human right, but right cannot be exerted like saying slogans like dite hobe, korte hobe, all kind of these things will not work. So we wanted to adopt something that solution from within approach, that things should not be very high tech, things should not be very costly, but people can afford, and people can also like to afford it. So our approaches and principles are like, hello.
Hello.
Is there someone speaking, or because some noise is coming? Okay. So our principles, our approaches and principles are providing affordable and understandable solutions at the doorsteps of the people. Presents innovation and promotion of appropriate technologies for community resilience started working based on the following principle. All people should be helped to come out of a make-believe situation. Means, I mean that in the bottle, maybe some water is there, maybe that cap is sealed. But the thing is that whether it is just simple groundwater, or it is real good quality safe drinking water, what we say, people's traditional knowledge and practices should be documented, should respect the traditional knowledge system, how it has evolved through generations. Cultural appropriateness and affordability should be the prime concern. Like one example I can give, like we are using the pond, and but there are some things like we are not treating the pond water. We are taking that pond water in a separate chamber. So it may not be difficult to go for bathing in the pond, but it will not look good. So that we considered as cultural appropriateness, that if the people see that some people are taking bath and that same water is being consumed, so it may not be accepted. Ecology and environment should in no way be disturbed, and to ensure disaster and climate change resilience. Economy and environment, there are many bottling plants mushrooming like anything these days. Now the point is that what is the source? So these are the groundwaters. So groundwater, if we extract water from one source, then what is required more than that we are extracting. So in that case, it is exploitation. So we don't want to do that. Need to identify the probable causes of rejection and safety issues, then work to make safe and user-friendly devices. Designs should be flexible so that makeshift arrangements and value additions are possible anytime. Address dependency syndromes even at the design level, and issues of community owned and community managed should always be kept into mind. Test, practice, understand, and change the behavior before advocating others. So what we have been doing, that is, we have been using it, we have tested it, and then we are saying, so this is for each and every area, whatever we have said. So for each and every area, people can go and ask someone that who is using it. And then after being satisfied, then they will also go for it. So cost benefit analysis and cost recovery should be considered only as sustainability issues, and any profit making approaches would be avoided. So these are our basic principles, and on this basis we have started this. And the strategy carefully designed by present volunteers adopting Jal Sahyog mission, safe drinking water mission, and social marketing of safe water system, supported by messages about safe drinking water and total sanitation. The safe water system is a water quality intervention that issues simple, inexpensive, and robust technologies appropriate for the developing world to prevent mortality and morbidity associated with diarrheal diseases. The SWS safe water system developed by PRISM reduces the number of diarrheal episodes by around 80%. These are the processes, and we adopted this oxycoflox sedimentation technique. This is the technical guidelines of the All India Institute of Hygiene and Public Health, and they published it. There was a research paper, published it in the public domain. Things are available now, and we have been using it. Our aim is to, for intervention of treatment of drinking water, is to obtain a naturally pure drinking water. We are aware that of the fact that an optimal treatment of drinking water requires the use of suitable processes in a sensible combination with observation of the following demands, like A is reliable and far-reaching removal of all anthropogenic and naturally formed perturbing materials. Number 2 is avoidance of new formation or enrichment of perturbing materials in the course of the treatment itself. Number 3 is reliable effectiveness even when the properties of the raw water are changed. Number 4 is simple and effective control of the operation. Number 5, the processes used for treating drinking water can also have undesirable effects on the water quality if they are misapplied. So this is how actually PRISM worked, and PRISM's volunteers, they have been actually demonstrating before the communities, and this is a fluoride affected area, and this is version 7. Basically, people have got and they have been using. So now this is something like it is version 8. What I have shown you, that version 8, it costs like 1400 rupees plus GST, and with this amount, one family can have access to safe drinking water. I can say that safest form of drinking water for 1 year, and after 1 year they have to recharge the reagents, and those reagents are available only by spending only rupees 280 or something, 300 or something like that. So it can be. So that another thing is that with the device, how we have made it, in that there are lots of options, like the village women, even they can do, like we are using activated carbon. So activated carbon, the best quality activated carbon are made from coconut shells. So if we can train, and we did it and we have seen the success of it. So they they are now actually making activated carbons by themselves, and they are earning. So this is not only just a device being promoted, and another side of it, that a device is promoted. At the same time, the women of that particular area, they are earning, and they are earning by making activated carbon. At the same time, they can procure the other reagents, those reagents they can sell, and while recharging, people can have access, and they can get it from them. Like in Satkhira, Bangladesh, we did it very recently.
Time is up. Please sum up.
Okay, I thought that time is there, so that's why. Otherwise, it's almost.
No, we are actually running late.
No,
And that's why
almost over. It's almost over. So thank you. Thanks to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to speak before this August panelists and August audience. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Dev, for your valuable discussion on safe drinking water. We are at the end of the this session, and this is the time of Thanksgiving. Now I would like to invite Major General MJS Ali, BSM retired, the Secretary and Director General, the Institution of Engineers India, for giving vote of thanks. Sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to the Rural Development Forum for providing me with this opportunity to deliver the vote of thanks. And I express my sincere gratitude to each and every one for their gracious presence and unwavering attention during the insightful discussion on water security for rural India under climate variability. At first, I must thank our distinguished past president, Mr. Shishir Kumar Banerjee, who in spite of his busy schedule has confirmed his presence during the webinar. Sir, my sincere thanks to you for your presence and inaugural speech, which has set the tone for the discussions to follow. As we all know, water security is an issue of utmost significance, particularly in the rural areas of India, where communities rely heavily on agriculture and face the formidable challenges posed by the climate variability. I would like to thank the eminent invited speakers, to include Mr. Shyam Narayan Dave, who's the water sanitation and hygiene specialist at United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, on the topic of impact of climate change in the water security. Mr. Bishwadeep Ghosh, who's the country director of Water for People India, who spoke on the ensuring water security in the times of climate change. Professor Diptaroop Kahali, technical advisor, GKW, consult GmbH, and ex-professor, All India Institute of Hygiene and Public Health, who spoke on engineering challenges towards water security. Dr. Anirudh De, chairperson, Professional Institute for Development and Socio-Economical, Environmental Management, and Dr. Arati Nandi, eminent social scientist and consultant to the Asian Development Bank, who spoke on water and gender. Thank you all for enlightening us on the various aspects related to water security. I believe the outcome from today's deliberation will help the Rural Development Forum to plan their future activities to alleviate the problems of rural India, especially related to water security. Sir, we are engrossed by your lucid and crisp deliberations, which made us more concerned and sensitive regarding water security for the present and future generations. Your contributions, ideas, and perspectives have enriched our understanding of the subject matter and provided us with a comprehensive overview of the measures needed to ensure water security in rural India amidst the global warming and climate change. I wholeheartedly thank the participants without whom the webinar would not have been successful for their patient hearing. Your overwhelming response and active participation will motivate us to arrange more such webinars on emerging and contemporary topics. Last but not the least, I would like to thank Chairman RDF, Engineer Ranjan Datta, and Engineer Julan Chattopadhyay, the Director RDF, for arranging this webinar with technical and administrative support from IA headquarters. In conclusion, I would like to reiterate my heartfelt gratitude to all participants, organizers, and contributors, including people behind the scenes, for making this discussion on water security for rural India under climate variability an overwhelming success. Your dedication and commitment to finding solutions on this critical issue instill hope for a better and more secular future. Once again, thank you and extend my best wishes to each and every one of you as you embark on the respective endeavors to create a more water secure and resilient rural India. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Busy schedule to make the event successful. Hope we will come back soon and your cooperation will always be with us. Good night.
Thank you all. I thank Technical Department, Institution of Engineers India. Thank you.
Thanks to all of you.
Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.